The stars burned cold in the void of space as Admiral Chun Wei stood on the command deck of the Thunderborn. Her eyes scanned the tactical display before her. Red dots filled the screen like a swarm of angry insects. Each dot represented an enemy ship. Together, they formed the largest hostile force ever assembled against humanity. The Galactic Confederation had finally done what many thought impossible. 5 alien races had set aside centuries of hatred for each other. They had united under a single banner. Their target was Earth and every human colony scattered across the stars. The message they sent was simple: surrender or face extinction. Humanity chose neither. Chun Wei remembered the day the ultimatum arrived. She was eating breakfast with her daughter when the news broke. The aliens demanded that humans give up their technology. They wanted humanity to return to a primitive state. They feared what humans might become if allowed to grow unchecked. The Confederation called humans a virus. They said humans spread too fast. They conquered worlds too quickly. They adapted too easily. In just 300 years, humanity had expanded from a single blue planet to controlling 40 star systems. No other species had grown so rapidly. It terrified them. Now their fear had brought them here, to the Kepler threshold, the gateway to human space. Admiral Chun Wei counted the enemy forces one more time. The Vorthani contributed 800 warships. Their vessels looked like floating mountains of black crystal. Each one bristled with plasma cannons that could melt through steel like butter through fire. The Vorthani were ancient. They had traveled between stars when humans still lived in caves. The Orcs sent 600 of their bioships. These living vessels pulsed with sick green light. They fed on radiation and spat acid that could eat through any known armor. The Orcs hated humans most of all. Humans had defeated them in the border wars just 50 years ago. They wanted revenge. The Silvari arrived with 500 needle-thin cruisers. These ships were fast and deadly. They could strike from impossible distances with weapons that tore apart molecules themselves. The Silvari believed they were the chosen rulers of the galaxy. Humans had embarrassed them by refusing to bow. The Mordith brought 400 heavy dreadnoughts. Each ship was a floating fortress. They were slow but nearly indestructible. The Mordith had never lost a war in their entire history. They saw humans as unworthy of existence. Finally, the Zephyri contributed 300 carrier ships. Each carrier held thousands of fighter drones that could overwhelm any defense through sheer numbers. The Zephyri fought like a single mind. Their telepathic network allowed perfect coordination. 2,600 enemy warships hung in space before her. Behind them waited supply vessels and troop transports carrying millions of soldiers. This armada had come to end humanity forever. Admiral Chun Wei smiled. She turned to her communications officer. Lieutenant Park nodded once. The channel was open. "This is Admiral Chun Wei of the Terran Imperial Fleet," she announced. Her voice carried across the void to every ship in both forces. "You have entered human space without permission. You have threatened our worlds and our people. I am offering you one chance. Turn back now. Go home to your families. Live out your days in peace." Silence answered her. Then came laughter. The alien admirals found her words amusing. The Vorthani High Commander spoke for them all. "Little human," he said with contempt dripping from every word, "we have brought the greatest fleet in galactic history. You have what? 200 ships? Perhaps 300? We will crush you and grind your bones to dust. Your species ends today." Chun Wei nodded slowly. She had expected this response. She had hoped for it. "You miscounted," she said simply. The Admiral pressed a single button on her command chair. Space itself seemed to shimmer. The darkness between stars rippled like water disturbed by a thrown stone. Then the Imperial fleet revealed itself. 1,000 Thunderhawk battlecruisers materialized from their cloaking fields. Each ship stretched 2 kilometers long. Their hulls gleamed silver and black. Weapons ports lined their sides like the teeth of some massive predator. 500 ironclad dreadnoughts followed. These ships made the Mortith vessels look like toys. Triple-layered shields surrounded them. Their main guns could fire beams of compressed antimatter that erased anything they touched. 300 Stormbreaker carriers uncloaked next. Human fighters poured from their launch bays. Not drones controlled by distant minds. Each fighter held a human pilot. Men and women who had trained their whole lives for this moment. They feared nothing. 200 Vanguard destroyers appeared on the flanks. These nimble ships could dance through enemy fire. Their missile pods carried payloads that could crack planets. Finally, the flagship of the Imperial fleet emerged from the darkness. The unconquered sun dwarfed everything else in the battle space. This mobile battle station carried enough firepower to sterilize worlds. It had never fired its main weapon in anger. Today, that might change. The alien admirals went silent. Their sensors screamed warnings at them. The human fleet was not smaller. It was larger, far larger. And it had been hiding in plain sight the entire time. Admiral Chen Wei spoke again. Her voice remained calm, almost gentle. "You came here expecting sheep," she said. "You found wolves instead. This is your final warning. Leave now or die here. The choice belongs to you." The Confederation fleet hesitated. For one long moment, it seemed they might retreat. Then pride won over wisdom. The Vorthani High Commander screamed orders to attack. He would rather die than show weakness before humans. The battle began. Human ships moved like nothing the aliens had ever seen. Years of fighting among themselves had taught humanity the art of war. The Imperial fleet did not form neat lines or predictable formations. They flowed like water. They struck like lightning. They vanished like smoke. The Thunderhawks hit the Vorthani formation first. Their railguns fired tungsten rounds at a fraction of light speed. The projectiles punched through crystal hulls like paper. Vorthani ships exploded in cascading chains of destruction. Their plasma cannons fired back but found only empty space. Human ships had already moved. Ironclad dreadnoughts engaged the Mortith directly. The aliens had never faced opponents who could match their armor. They learned today that humans had surpassed them. Antimatter beams carved through Mortith shields. Dreadnoughts that had survived 1,000 battles died in seconds. Human fighters swarmed the Zephyr carriers. The alien drones tried to respond, but human pilots thought faster. They adapted quicker. Each human flew as an individual while fighting as a team. The Zephyr hive mind could not predict their movements. Carriers burned and broke apart. Vanguard destroyers hunted Sylvari cruisers with ruthless efficiency. The aliens tried to maintain distance, but human ships were faster. Missiles found their targets with perfect accuracy. Sylvari vessels died screaming as their molecular weapons failed to save them. The Krelok's bioships proved toughest to kill. Their living hulls could regenerate damage. But humans had studied their enemies. Specialized warheads carried engineered viruses. These infections spread through the bioships like wildfire. Living vessels died in agony as their own systems turned against them. Admiral Chen Wei directed the battle from the unconquered sun. She watched her display as enemy dots winked out by the dozen, then by the hundred. Her officers reported victories on every front, but the aliens had numbers. They pushed forward through their losses. They reached the center of the human formation. Close combat erupted as ships fought at knife range. The Vorthani High Commander himself led the charge. His flagship carved toward the Thunderborn. He wanted to kill Chen Wei personally. He wanted to prove that humans could be beaten. Chen Wei ordered her ship to meet him. The Thunderborn accelerated toward the enemy flagship. Weapons fire filled the space between them. Both ships shuddered under the punishment. The Vorthani vessel was ancient. Its weapons had destroyed hundreds of ships across thousands of years. But the Thunderborn was human. It had been built by a species that never stopped improving, never stopped adapting, never stopped fighting. Chun Wei gave the order. The Thunderborn fired everything at once, every weapon, every missile, every gun. The combined firepower struck the Vorthani flagship like the fist of an angry god. The crystal mountain shattered. The Vorthani High Commander died before he understood what happened. His last thought was simple confusion. How could humans be so strong? The death of their leader broke the Confederation fleet. The alliance had always been fragile. Now it crumbled entirely. Krulok's ships turned their weapons on Sylvari vessels. Old hatreds resurfaced. The combined armada became 5 separate fleets fighting everyone around them. Admiral Chun Wei pressed the advantage. Human ships drove into the chaos. They destroyed confused enemies with mechanical precision. The slaughter continued for 6 hours. When silence finally returned to the Kepler threshold, the Confederation fleet had ceased to exist. 1,700 enemy ships had been destroyed. 900 had fled in different directions. Many would never make it home. The Imperial fleet had lost 212 vessels. Each loss hurt. But humanity had survived. More than survived. They had proven something to the galaxy. Admiral Chun Wei broadcast a final message. This one went beyond the battlefield. It reached every inhabited world in the galaxy. Every species heard her words. "Today you learned a simple truth," she said. "Humanity does not conquer because we enjoy war. We do not expand because we want to rule. We fight because we must. We grow because we refuse to die. You gathered your armadas against us. We scattered them like leaves in a storm. Remember this day. Remember what happens when you threaten our children and our homes. We did not start this war, but we have ended it. Pray we never have reason to fight again." The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, alien leaders watched in silence. They had believed humans were young and weak. They had believed numbers and experience would defeat courage and determination. They had been wrong. The Imperial fleet began the long journey home. Celebrations would wait. They were dead to honor and wounded to heal. But as Admiral Chun Wei looked at the stars around her, she felt something she had not felt in months. Hope. Humanity had faced extinction and survived. They had stood against impossible odds and triumphed. The galaxy would never forget the day the Armadas gathered. They would never forget how the Imperial fleet scattered them. Earth remained free. The colonies remained safe. And somewhere out there, alien children would grow up hearing stories of the humans who could not be conquered. Stories of the species that refused to bow. Stories of the day their elders learned the truth about humanity. Humans were not a virus. They were survivors. They were fighters. They were the wolves among sheep. And they were here to stay. The stars burned cold in the void of space. But for humanity, they burned with promise. The universe was vast and full of dangers. But humans had proven they could face any danger. They could overcome any challenge. They could defeat any enemy. The age of humanity had truly begun.